The Los Angeles Chargers had a very disappointing end to their 2024 season with that blowout loss to the Houston Texans. Justin Herbert turning the ball over more in one game than he had the entire year. Well, that made Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers decide they are going to improve the offensive side of the football, take more of the responsibility off of Justin Herbert's right hands, and buy into the offensive scheme that Jim Harbaugh has always wanted to play, a style of which is going to be that of running the football and playing great defense. Well, they got their guy, Omarion Hampton, my favorite pick of the first round of the NFL draft. They could have gone with the cornerback, the star, Will Johnson, but Harbaugh decided our team could be more impacted by having great running back play. He looked across the way and saw Philadelphia there at Lincoln Financial Field with all the success in Saquon Barkley and said, if we can get one of those guys with as good as our quarterback is, we can have a team that rivals the talents and can beat anybody. Well, they start off the season playing a Chiefs, the team that has just been a nemesis to them as of late, and they start that game off in Brazil, have them losing 24-27. The effect of Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice is going to be felt from the start of the season. The Chiefs are going to be taking more shots and going back to where that offense had been previously with McCole Hardman and Tyreek Hill, Kelsey over the middle of the field, where they were just taking shots all over the place. Mahomes might not have the time, so they're going to have to figure out specifically on the KC side how they are going to give him the opportunity to throw the ball down the field. But a good game, 24-27 to start the year off for LA. In week 2 against the Raiders on the road, it's a Monday night game. This is a lot of fun for a number of ways because you get to see the rookies that get to trot out there. This is like the Junior Colson game to me. Jim Harbaugh decided, I'm going to take a former Wolverine because I know what this guy stands on. He is a tackling machine on that national championship game. 2 years ago, that team, he's going to be my guy to cover Brock Bowers down the field. He will be my guy to help out Derwin James in pass protection, as well as come down and make tackles on Ashton Jeanty, who has been untackleable in college football. What will it be in the National Football League? Khalil Mack, another one of those names that returns that veteran presence on that defense. A number of guys that are pretty good, like Deshaun Hand, they brought over from Miami, Tyler Tart. The Chargers have a very good defense, expecting them to be top 10. They were that exactly in the sense of the points allowed last year. They were very good, amongst the top 6 in the National Football League. A win against the Raiders on Monday Night Football, 41-14. Week 3, they've got a showdown with the Denver Broncos, 27-20. I think they beat them, and Bo Nix. This is a great, fun matchup. You get to see the big athletic quarterbacks in Herbert and Bo Nix going right at each other. Ladd McConkey game, ladies and gentlemen. Quentin Johnston, where's this guy been? The TCU former star that hasn't had the effect that many people wanted to have. That's why they took Trey Harris in the second round of the draft last year out of Ole Miss. They want the offensive ability to put up points against good defenses or teams that have great secondaries, like Pat Surtain and Jahdae Barron already makes probably the best defensive duo of corners in the NFL. So the tight ends in the middle of the field, Will Dissly, Tyler Conklin in the production, bringing over Conklin from the Jets. Can they get them going over the middle of the field to help out that run game? You can see so many different ways the Chargers can beat you this year. It's McConkey and Harris on the outside. Kind of depends on the production of the tight ends. We know Harbaugh loves tight ends, and what he had in Colston Loveland there in Michigan on the outside. Can Quentin Johnston become the guy that a lot of people thought he was meant to be? A win 27-20, moving to 2-1 on the year. For they are on the road at MetLife against the Giants. I think they get close to the 50 bomb, and they beat them 49-7. What do the Giants have that's going to limit the Chargers from moving to 3-1 on the year, besides Malik Neighbors and a very good front? Of course, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, so maybe the best player in college football last year, right up there with Travis Hunter. In the sense of Dexter Lawrence, he's a tremendous talent. Like, they had brought in Brian Burns from Carolina, who already looks to be a star. Like, that's the best front four in football. But what else do the Giants have offensively? Like Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, just see the Chargers being able to dominate that game from the get-go and get to 3-1 before a home game at SoFi against the Washington Commanders. These are two teams absolutely trending in the right direction overall. For Harbaugh to get that Chargers team to the playoffs his first year after the disaster that was the 2023 season for LA, like after, my gosh, like the past couple of years with Brandon Staley, like Harbaugh comes in, changes the entire culture, does a complete 180 for the team, that they can compete with teams like the Washington Commanders and their young quarterback, Jaden Daniels. They pose threats, of course, on the outside with McLaurin and with Deebo Samuel. Now, they can hand it to him. They can get him the ball quick with screens. He can test you vertically through the middle of a defense. Like, this is the Derwin James type of game where you have to rely on him and getting pressure on a quarterback and limiting. Again, Junior Colson, we talked about him being able to have an impact and limit Ashton Genty or Brock Bowers. Can he limit the legs of Jaden Daniel? He's like the pinnacle of that defense right there in the middle. A loss, though, 23-30 as they drop to 3-2 on the season. Then they face a Miami Dolphins team that I'm a bit down on and want to make sure I'm not saying anything that like just absolutely confuses you. I'm currently in Africa. I'm on safari in Tanzania, out there in Kenya as well, traveling to see the Great Migration. I'm recording this several weeks in advance from when this video comes out. So if I'm mentioning guys that got hurt or there's been activity that I'm not aware of a couple weeks before the dropping of this video, that is why, just to want to make that point clear to you. So they're at the Miami Dolphins Hard Rock Stadium, got them winning 28-24. Extremely confident that Justin Herbert at this point is dialed into that offense. Lad McConkey continues to be a huge threat, and him and Trey Harris are establishing connection. And Omarion Hampton, another piece of that offense, is proving to be a top 6 or 7 running back in the National Football League, and it looks like that production will continue in the long term. 4-2 on the year before a game against the Colts, which looks to be, for all intents and purposes, a gimme, 23-7, limiting that offense like Jonathan Taylor and who else? Like, I'm a big fan of Michael Pittman. I like Josh Downs, but A.D. Mitchell, again, Texas kid, he's such an explosive player. Like, for him to be with the 6th wide receiver taken or 7th in that 2024 NFL draft was just absurd with the talent that he had. Like the end of that game, he could have caught that pass against Washington, and then Washington doesn't end up making the appearance against Harbaugh's Michigan Wolverines, and it would be the Texas Longhorns that they might have ended up facing. Of course, that doesn't happen, but like that team as a whole at the quarterback spot, like Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, who's it going to be? Like Riley, I just don't know. Don't have confidence in that quarterback spot, so that's why I don't have confidence for them to score more than 7 points against LA. They moved to 5-2 on the year before a huge Monday night game, interconference showdown. 32-18 have them beating Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy against his former head coach and defensive coordinator. That's why I got confidence in them to shut down J.J. One of the more fun and happy matchups that you have. Feel good for J.J. McCarthy. He made a great recovery. Love to see that. And love to see him throwing to a top 2 wide receiver duo in Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. That'll catch you a lot better and keep Harbaugh and Minter up late at night thinking about how they can stop their national champion former quarterback from tearing up their offense. I think they do that by getting pressure on him, dialing up ways to get pressure on McCarthy, get him off of his throwing point. They get a win there, move to 6-2 on the season before they are at Tennessee, one of the easier games that the Chargers will play on the season. 34-20, Cam Ward going up against Jesse Minter's defense. Like Khalil Mack, could see him just being a terror. There's not a Khalil Mack in college football. There isn't a guy at that caliber that Cam Ward has ever seen, maybe in his entire career playing football. And believe me, Khalil Mack can still bring it, and he will in this case. They moved to 7-2 on the season before a Sunday night game against the Aaron Rodgers-led Steelers at SoFi Stadium. You can already write the headlines. Rodgers, these are some of the fun games to look ahead to. Like getting a game like that right here in Los Angeles. Might just have to go to it. I have the Steelers beating the Chargers because I just think that Tom is going to dial something up pretty nasty for Justin Herbert and that offense. Like they're so balanced to the point. They're going to beat you with Hampton. They're going to be able to beat you on the outside. They have the weapons as an offense, absolutely, with the very good tight ends, and we've talked all about the wide receivers. But there are games at some point that we will see next year if Rodgers is healthy throughout the year, where he's just like, wow, he's still got it. He's absolutely got it. And with DK Metcalf in that offense in a solid backfield and still one of the best defenses in the National Football League, they are maintaining. They've got the future of the defensive tackle position. Learning from Cam Hayward is Derek Harmon, one of the better stories. Not one of the better stories, a sad one with his mom passing right there with the draft and going there to see her before she passed, like that, sad story. But Derek Harmon is going to be a force of nature. Have them losing 26-20, dropping to 7-3 in their last game before the bye. I think that the bye comes at a perfect time because that back half is, in ways, brutal. A win at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Travis Hunter is one guy. He is one player, and it's fun to think about the college sense of this and how there's these stories like Brian Thomas at LSU, who was so good. He's in his year 2, how him and Travis Hunter will be this dynamic duo, maybe the most underrated and unknown ceilings or floors for what they could be in football, because it all depends, of course, on Liam Cohen and the offense led by Trevor Lawrence, who just hasn't done it. Chargers know all about the Jaguars. They get the revenge from that blowout game they thought they had in the wild card round against the Jaguars a few seasons ago before they blew it all and allowed Jacksonville to come back and break their hearts. So win, moving them to 8-3 on the season and firmly in position to challenge the Chiefs for the AFC West title. And that's because a winnable game against the Las Vegas Raiders at home coming out of the bye week to move them to 9-3 on this season. Have them winning that 28-13. They see Ashton Genty again. Whether this is going to be, most likely it's Geno Smith still as the starting quarterback there in Vegas. Hope that he is able to retain a sense of health and be able to distribute the football, because that is a much more fun matchup. Any team that's playing the Raiders now with those playmakers on offense. Of course, we know of what Max Crosby is, but a win, moving them to 9-3 on the year before a Monday night game at SoFi against the Philadelphia Eagles. This is where we see, what are the Chargers? Are they truly a team that will be competing for Super Bowl, or are they pretenders? Can they get a win against a great Philadelphia Eagles team? I think they do. 27-26. Dicker is the kicker with a field goal to win the game is my prediction. And they pull it off 10-3. They get to on the schedule. But after that is where I think there's a bit of a come down, because it's almost like that's their Super Bowl. They beat the defending champs at home, even though it's an interconference. Like the Eagles aren't a rival of theirs. It's more so the Chiefs at this point, and the Broncos, the up-and-coming squad. But that poses a threat, like beating A.J. Brown and the Saquon Barkley-led Philadelphia Eagles. We know what they did to the other LA team and the Rams in the two matchups. Barkley running for over 200 yards and that combined, 4 or 5 touchdowns in those two games. How can Jesse Minter and Harbaugh limit Barkley to not destroying their defense and finding a way to keep Herbert upright against that Georgia Bulldog defense? We'll just call it what it is. That is exactly what they are, with Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and they bring in another SEC kid, Jihad Campbell, and that squad. So a win there against the Eagles, 9-3, and they come down, like I mentioned, at the Chiefs. What could be the whole division riding on this game, a loss at Kansas City at Arrowhead 30-23, and what will be like the culmination, like we are winning the division next year. A type of game, a loss that breaks hearts, but like has Chargers fans. I'm a big fan of the Chargers. Obviously, you see the Bears stuff. Like I'd probably say the Chargers are my second favorite team in the NFL. Big fan of Harbaugh, and they have like, next year we're beating this team or winning this division. Like that type of example. So a loss to Kansas City, and the Chiefs are vulnerable, exemplified by losses they will have throughout the season, where you're like, wow, this team is not what they have been in the past, and they are beatable. Like the Chargers might get another crack at them, I'm saying, in the postseason. A loss the next week at the Dallas Cowboys, 24-20. This particular matchup, like Dak Prescott can be streaky. he can have his moments, especially now with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb making it a lot easier. And Micah Parsons bringing in the heat from the edge that just gives Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt struggles. These are young, very talented tackles. I would say the best tackle duo in the National Football League, and a loss that drops them to 9-5. No, that is what, 10 and, yeah, that's, excuse me. So that would be 10-4, the loss to the Chiefs, 10-5, the loss to the Cowboys. And then the Houston Texans, like I said, that's just a brutal. You got the Eagles, the Chiefs on the road, Houston, and then at Denver later on, a loss to the Cowboys on the road ahead of that. But 10-5, Houston Texans at home, have them winning. Houston is just such a problem. Both sides of the football. Of course, the play of CJ Stroud is going to continue to be elevated. Winning that game in the wild card round last year really gave them a whole lot of confidence that they could do it against the Chiefs, and it was obvious that they were missing something as an offense against Kansas City. They just like that without Tank Dell, they didn't have it. Well, guess what? Tank Dell could come back healthy. Jaden Higgins, Jalen Mole, they committed to building around CJ Stroud, because you only do that when you look at your roster and you see like you just need some weapons. Like we just need guys on the outside that can threaten, so we can beat a team like the Kansas City Chiefs the next time we play them in a big spot. That's exactly what they went out to do, and it's tough. But that's why that's a huge win, 26-24. Omarion Hampton runs away with it and is able to break through that spectacular front from Houston. Of course, the likes of Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. At that point, 11-5 on the season, a road game at the Broncos. At that point, I think that the Chiefs would have it wrapped up because of the 2 wins and what I have on the schedule here, like division already wrapped up. Maybe I have them both finishing 11-6. I have the Chargers losing at the Broncos 24-26. Like they're already locked into a playoff spot. Maybe not a whole lot hinging against the Broncos, so I think might have to get a win, like 9-7 Denver, to beat the Chargers to get into the postseason, and a loss at the Broncos. But a playoff team, no doubt, will be the Chargers if everybody, for the most part, stays healthy. They're too well coached, too much talent on the offensive side of the ball, and the ability to quickly have guys fill into spots and be impact players will happen immediately. But altogether, a very fun matchup to end the season if this one has playoff implications immediately and they actually are playing for a division title. Sign me up for it. 11-6, the Chargers finish the same as the Chiefs. Have the Chiefs winning the division, 11-6, tied, but of course the 2 wins, so the tiebreaker. But LA, let me know what you think in the comments. Am I right on track that LA under Harbaugh is going to be a force in the AFC, but still 80 a year away from being like, this team can get to the Super Bowl? Like they're going to be able to get through whoever like their challenger. There's no Josh Allen. There's no Lamar Jackson on the schedule. I think that a lot can change in the near future here by playing those guys in the playoffs. But even a loss to the Chiefs, like the Chargers would probably take a game against the Chiefs in the divisional round on the road. Very, very confident that Chargers fans would take that, and we just might see something of the sorts, or even Mahomes coming into LA would be fun in the playoffs. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this, what you're thinking of the Chargers' direction heading forward, what you want to see of my content and me heading forward, what you like, what you don't like, so that I can continue making better content for you guys. As always, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Appreciate you.
Best player in college football.
That Georgia and Ohio State game, New Year's Eve, is going to be a classic.
Josh Blunder. Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Blunder.
To the 40, 35, 30, Espinosa to the 20.